Once upon a time, in a quiet village of Ipetu, lived a young-hearted fisherman named Adeleke. Adeleke had a beautiful wife named Bisi. Adeleke and his beloved wife were barren for long and longed for a child more than anything in the world. One fateful evening, Adeleke, while fishing, caught a shimmering silver fish, a creature unlike any he had seen before. Adeleke told his wife about the strange fish, and his wife warned him. Adeleke, ignoring his wife's warning, brought the fish home, hoping that it would bring them the blessing they desperately desired. But then something strange happened. That night, while asleep, Adeleke had a scary dream, a dream that would change his life forever. The mighty god Olokun appeared before him, his voice echoing like the waves. "For your greed, Adeleke, you shall bear a child yourself. You will carry the burden of life, but it will not be without great pain and trials." And those words, the curse of Olokun, was set in motion. Days turned into weeks, and Adeleke began to notice something strange. His belly started to swell, just like that of a pregnant woman. The villagers of Ipetu began to whisper amongst themselves, casting fearful glances at the fisherman. How could a man be pregnant? They questioned. Adeleke, ashamed and frightened, hid away in his home, unable to bear the weight of Olokun's curse. Bisi, his wife, worried and confused, cared for him, but she knew that they needed help. Together, they both sought the wisdom of the village elder, who told them of a mysterious woman who lived deep in the forest. Her name was Iya Omo, and she might hold the key to lifting the terrible curse, the elders said. Desperation drove Adeleke and Bisi into the heart of the dark forest, where they searched for Iya Omo, the wise woman. The journey was a long one and filled with uncertainty, but finally they arrived at a small thatched hut where an old woman with piercing eyes awaited them. Olokun's curse is powerful, Iya almost said gravely. It can be lifted, though, but you must return what you've taken from the liver, she said. Take this bowl, she instructed, and pour its contents into the water where you caught the sacred fish. Kneel there and pray for forgiveness, and perhaps the God may show you mercy. With no time to lose, Adeleke and Bisi thanked the old woman and headed back to the river. Their heart was filled with hope and fear also. At the river's edge, under the light of the moon, Adeleke poured the liquid from Iya Oma's bowl into the river and prayed for forgiveness. The river began to glow again, and from its depth emerged Olokun, the god of the sea. His voice, though stern, held a note of compassion. "You have shown humility, Adekunle," Olokun said, "and so the curse is lifted." And the god spoke, Adekunle felt the weight lift from his body, his swollen belly shrinking back to its normal size. Tears of relief and gratitude filled his eyes. Soon after, Bisi became pregnant and they were blessed with a son. They named their son Olokun in honor of the God who had shown them mercy. As Adekunle and Bisi settled into their new life with their new baby Olokun, strange occurrences began to trouble the village. The once calm river grew wild and unpredictable, and the villagers gossiped that the curse had not fully been lifted. One night, while cradling her son, Bisi had a terrifying vision. She saw the river rising, threatening to engulf the village, and heard Olokun's voice warning her of a great trial to come. Fearful of what the future held, Bisi knew that they had to return to Iya Omo to understand the meaning of the dark omen. With heavy hearts, Adeleke and Bisi returned to the forest, seeking Iya Omo's guidance once more. The wise woman greeted them with a solemn expression, her eyes filled with knowledge of the unknown. The child you bear, she said, is not just a blessing but also a test from the gods. When he turns 5, you must bring him to the river for a ritual. If Olokun finds the child worthy, the village will be spared. But if not, the river will rise and claim all of Ipetu. Fear gripped their hearts as they realized the weight of the challenge ahead. Years passed and baby Olokun grew into a bright, joyful child with an uncanny connection to the river. Whenever he approached the water, it would calm and the fish would gather around him as if drawn to his presence. But the storms continued to brew and the villagers grew more fearful as the day of ritual approached. They no longer whispered about the curse but about the hope that this child, this gift from Olokun, might be. They hoped that it would be their salvation. Yet, they all knew that the outcome of the ritual was uncertain and their fate rested in the hands of the gods. At last, the day of the ritual arrived. The entire village gathered at the river bank, their eyes fixed on the young Olokun as Iya Omo began the ceremony. Adekunle and Bisi stood close by their hearts, heavy with fear and hope. As Iya Omo placed Olokun on a small raft and sent him drifting into the river, they began to glow and a spiraling column of water rose around the boy. Olokun the god spoke in a voice that echoed across the village. This child carries the future of the village within him, the god declared. He is blessed, but remember, his life is tied to the river. You must raise him with reverence, for he is both a gift and a responsibility. As the water receded, the villagers let out a collective sigh of relief. The ritual was a success and the village was safe for now. Years passed and Olokun grew into a wise young man, respected by all in Ipetu. The villagers no longer feared the river but embraced it, understanding the deep bond that Olokun shared with the water. Under his guidance, the village prospered, and the river provided them with abundance. Olokun taught them to live in harmony with the natural world, reminding them always of the respect owed to the gods. His story became a legend tale of humility, reverence, and delicate balance between blessings and curses. When Olokun turned 21, he felt a deep calling from the river, a pull he could no longer ignore. He knew that his time in the village was ending. One night, he gathered his parents and the villagers and elders and told them of his decision to return to the river, to live with his father, the god Olokun. Though heartbroken, Adeleke and Bisi understood that this was his destiny. They watched with tearful eyes as Olokun set off in a small boat. Disappearing into the mist, though he was gone, the river remained calm and generous, and Ipetu continued to prosper. The tale of the pregnant man and his mysterious child was passed down through generations, a reminder of the power of the gods and the importance of living with humility and respect. The story of Olokun, son of the river, would never be forgotten in a hurry. The moral of the story is that greed and disregard for sacred things can bring about severe consequences, but redemption is possible through humility and making amends. Thanks for watching.